Hello everyone, welcome back. We have some critical new developments, and the first one is a massive, large-scale international operation. German law enforcement, with support from 8 other countries, has conducted a huge operation targeting fraudsters and money launderers. Raids and searches were carried out at numerous locations in Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Spain, and other countries. Arrests have been made. These criminals were reportedly using bank card data from people in 193 different countries. Can you even imagine that scale? The suspects are also accused of illegally gaining access to 4 major payment services in Germany to process their transactions. The total damage is estimated to be in the several hundred million euros range. At least that's what the law enforcement agency is reporting. So it looks like the activities of at least one of these criminal organizations, which as you know have been growing and getting more brazen lately, have finally been put to an end. Now, I need to talk about my own background for a moment. I spent years working inside one of those big, well-known media outlets. I saw firsthand how they spin stories, how they twist facts to fit a pre-approved narrative. I couldn't do it. I walked away. Now, I'm independent, I speak for myself, and I'm here to tell you what's really going on. And I can only do that thanks to you. If you believe in this mission, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, consider becoming a sponsor. Every bit of support keeps this voice independent and allows me to keep digging for the truth. At the exact same time as this raid, over in the Christian Democratic Union, Friedrich Merz's party, there's new talk of a potential coalition collapse, all set against the backdrop of a government crisis. What a turn of events. Just 6 months after coming to power, the Christian Democratic Union and Social Democrats coalition is already facing its first serious crisis. We're seeing open conflicts and mutual accusations flying between the parties. As a result, some deputies in the German Chancellor's party are, for the first time, talking about the possibility of the government falling apart. The main trigger for this new round of tension was a statement from Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul about Syria. His phrase that Syria looks worse than Germany in 1945 sent shockwaves through the ruling party and triggered sharp disapproval from Chancellor Friedrich Merz himself. In the last few days, a real struggle has unfolded within the CDU. At first, the leadership defended Wadephul, and then, just as quickly, they publicly disavowed him. In turn, the leader of the CDU faction in the Bundestag, Jens Spahn, announced that they do not intend to sync with them, referring to their partners in the Social Democratic Party. Now, the faction is openly discussing alternatives to the coalition, even floating the option of forming a minority government if they can't reach an agreement on reforms at the coalition committee meeting on November 13th. These are reforms that everyone is waiting for, with more impatience than ever. And at the same time, the Social Democratic Party itself is in total disarray. Vice-Chancellor Lars Klingbeil is under pressure from the party's left wing, and his ministers are more and more frequently contradicting the Chancellor's line. So we are watching very closely to see what happens after November 13th. The suspense is enormous. Meanwhile, a migration expert is claiming that Chancellor Friedrich Merz's statement about a possible mass repatriation of Syrians to their country simply does not align with reality. Almost all Syrians will remain in Germany permanently. That's the conclusion from a specialist studying this very issue. Even with maximum effort, the government won't be able to return a significant number of migrants. They even provide an example. There are 250 working days in a year in Germany. Even if a charter flight took out more than 50 passengers every single day, that would only amount to 12,000 to 13,000 people per year. That's just 2, maybe 3% tops of all the Syrians currently in Germany. According to the Ministry of Internal Affairs, there are almost 900,000 Syrian citizens living in Germany right now. Another 200,000 have already received German citizenship. It's also become known that German authorities are planning to significantly increase financial aid to Ukraine in 2026. The budget for next year already sets aside 8.5 billion euros for support, but the government plans to increase this amount by another 3 billion euros. Finance Minister Lars Klingbeil, along with Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, will bring this issue to the Bundestag for discussion. The German Chancellor has also supported providing these additional funds in the proposed volume for next year. If you're finding this kind of direct, unfiltered analysis valuable, just take a second to hit that like button. It truly helps the channel, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. We also have another alarming report, this time about drones, but not from Germany. Air traffic at Brussels Airport was suspended due to the detection of drones. All flights into and out of Brussels Zaventem Airport were temporarily halted yesterday evening. The first drone was spotted around 8 p.m. local time. As a result, flights were diverted to other airports. 2 hours later, the airport reopened, but almost immediately it was closed again because of a second drone flying over. As of today, departures and arrivals have resumed, but I should note many outbound flights were simply cancelled, and as is so often the case, no one has been detained, and nobody knows who launched the drones or where they flew off to. The financial losses, however, are obvious. And then, in France, something terrible happened, to put it very mildly. A driver deliberately directed a vehicle at pedestrians and cyclists. As a result, 10 people were injured, and some of them have life-threatening injuries. The person who committed the attack has been detained. At the time of the arrest, it's stated that he shouted, "Allahu Akbar." Other circumstances of this incident are not yet known. The suspect was already on the radar of the French justice system for common law offences, including the use of prohibited substances. We'll be monitoring what happens next. Also, to add to the reports from France, this is going to be hard to believe, but this fact has been officially confirmed by a French court. A court has acquitted a 40-year-old taxi driver whom the current British Justice Minister David Lammy had falsely accused of stealing money and luggage. The incident happened back in April of this year when the taxi driver was driving Lammy and his wife from Italy to France. At the end of the journey, which was over 600 kilometers, the minister and the driver got into an argument over the cost of the trip. Lammy claimed the driver drove off, taking their luggage and cash with him. The taxi driver, however, said the minister refused to pay him the €1,550 fare. David Lammy and the driver both filed complaints, but only the British minister's complaint was deemed justified. The French taxi driver was charged with theft of cash and personal belongings, but only now has the prosecutor announced that the taxi driver was acquitted due to a lack of evidence, which means the taxi driver was brazenly slandered just to avoid paying the bill. Yes, that happens too. Now, turning to new reports from the United States, we have reached the 36th day of the budget crisis, which has left a significant part of the federal apparatus paralyzed. The U.S. shutdown has broken a record. The country's government has not been working for 36 days. Republicans and Democrats cannot agree on the federal budget. Experts are warning that this crisis could drag on for weeks more. Already, more than 670,000 government employees have been sent on unpaid leave. Another 730,000 are working without pay. The shutdown has also hit the economy hard. Federal agencies aren't issuing new orders, tenders are frozen, and payments are halted. According to analysts' estimates, if the crisis lasts 4 to 8 weeks, the U.S. economy will lose between $7 and $14 billion. And a portion of those losses cannot be recovered, even after the government resumes work. On top of that, about 42 million Americans in need could lose their food assistance. Many museums and national parks are closed, and in aviation, delays and flight cancellations are piling up. And in another stunning development, for the first time in many decades, New York will be led by, well, a socialist. Victory in the mayoral election went to 34-year-old Zaran Mamdani. He is a Muslim and a native of Uganda, and I promise you, this is not a movie. His election platform included a freeze on rent, free public transportation, state-run supermarkets with a possibility of free food, and of course, higher taxes for the rich. Opponents warned that such measures could lead to a financial crisis. It's natural to assume that none of what was promised will actually be fulfilled. The people were harshly deceived, one can safely and openly say, although they were apparently happy to be deceived, just as we see in so many other countries. Mamdani, I should note, is known for his statements against Israel and his support for the Palestinian movement. President Donald Trump has already reacted to the election results. He stated that the shutdown and the absence of the Trump name on the ballot were to blame for the Republican defeat. This election was seen by experts as the first major challenge for the Donald Trump administration after he became the head of the White House for the second time. And here is the most interesting part. Mamdani, who was loudly telling the masses fairy tales about how he's against the rich and has two hands up for the people, he has already been congratulated by the billionaire, sponsor and curator of the Democrats, the son of the oligarch George Alex. This is the interesting world we live in. Just make promises. Tell people exactly what they want to hear, and boom. Victory is guaranteed. But for those who possess critical thinking, it's much harder for them. There are fewer of them. So, let's just recap what we're seeing. We have this massive international operation cracking down on a global fraud ring, a deep political crisis that could tear apart the German government, the very real grinding impact of the US shutdown, and this unprecedented political shift in New York. It's a lot to process, and you can be sure I'll keep digging. I believe I'll be the first to bring you much of what truly matters. What do you make of all this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in this mission, if you believe in getting the real story without the corporate spin, please hit that like button and subscribe. And if you're in a position to, please consider becoming a channel sponsor. It's what keeps this desk, this microphone, and this voice truly independent. I'll be tracking these stories. We'll talk soon.